Here we go. Hello and welcome to Default Profitable, the show where we dive deep into real strategies behind starting and building consistently profitable businesses. Whether you're a founder, a leader, or just a person starting to dream, this podcast is a toolkit for making profit a default setting rather than a lucky outcome. I'm your host, Matt Nettleton, and today my guest is Lindsay Bledsoe. Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Matt. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So I saw you speak at an event and I reached out we don't really know each other. Why don't you take 2 or 3 minutes and introduce yourself to the people who are listening and me?
Yeah, perfect. I would love to. My name is Lindsay Bledsoe, and I am the owner and senior creative director for Burnbright Creative Company. And we are an Indy-based creative advertising agency. Just about me in general, I am originally from northeastern Indiana, a town called Angola. And then I went to and graduated from Valparaiso University. And I kickstarted my career actually in television news in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And after being there for several years, we moved to Indy in 2012. And so Indy has been home ever since. And to be honest, I absolutely love life here in Indy. I am very lucky and very blessed. I'm surrounded by an incredible community of friends and family. I am a pet parent. I have 2 ridiculous dogs and a skulker of a cat. And this month actually is a milestone. My husband and I are celebrating 20 years together. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a lot. All right.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's enough.
Yeah, I am the quintessential. I got here in 92 by accident and met my wife at the Alley Cat in Broad Ripple and never got to leave. So
What, the Alley Cat?
well, no, I love the Alley Cat. I mean, I go back every once in a while, but no, never get to leave with Indiana.
Yeah, I have been at the Alley Cat twice in the last couple of months for trivia. It's a blast, always.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, so you kind of threw out that you have a business and it's creative. Why don't you tell us what your business does? Start there.
Sure. So I will add too, I do have a co-founder who couldn't be with us today. So myself and Nate Riggs, my partner, who his full-time job is he is a creative director for State of Indiana Tourism. So he travels around the state and finds really cool, interesting stories to tell. And together, we just help small businesses and nonprofits survive and thrive through the power of impactful, memorable, and unique creative advertising campaigns. A lot of businesses look at marketing and advertising as an unnecessary expense, just another line item. But in reality, it is a vital investment. And I think business owners and nonprofits owe it to themselves to make that investment. And we are keenly aware that it is a big deal when you're a small business, every dollar counts. And so we are just as invested in our clients' success as they are. And so we work with clients of every industry and size and scale. We are especially passionate about supporting businesses that are minority-owned, women-owned, Black-owned. After being in advertising for 15 years, that was just a really big gap in the market that we saw and that we really wanted to serve. Because a lot of those smaller businesses and smaller missions get passed over by ad agencies because they don't have these big budgets. And so it is really important to us to kind of use our skills for the power of good and help elevate local businesses and nonprofits, especially ones that have a really cool and positive community impact. So that's kind of the nutshell.
All right. So when did you start the business?
So we officially launched last July. So we're still in the growth phase.
Okay. And before that, where were you working?
So my career over the last 15 years, like I mentioned, started in television news. And I started as a production assistant on a morning show in Milwaukee and quickly realized that running a teleprompter was not what I wanted to do with my life.
Really?
And right? It gets a little samey after a while, you know? And it's a vital job, don't get me wrong. But I had a position opened up at that station in creative services. And at that point, all I had really known was that I wanted to work in TV and video, and I really wanted to be paid to be creative. So, over the course of 9 years, I worked at 4 different TV stations, 2 in Milwaukee and 2 here in Indy. And after about 9 years, this might surprise you to know, but working for the news can be a little depressing after a while.
Yeah.
And my job, right? And my job wasn't to report the news. My job was to promote it, to kind of earn eyeballs so these bigger companies could make more money. And so I left the broadcast news side of things, and then I moved over to cable. And so the last 7 years or so, I was working exclusively with businesses here in central Indiana and helping them create commercials and advertising campaigns. And to be honest with you, my hand was forced a little bit to start this business because it was just about a year ago that my position with my last corporate overlord was eliminated. And so after doing a little soul searching and really thinking about, what's my next move? I did not plan to find myself here at this point in my career. And my partner, Nate, and his wife were over just for like dinner and a game night. And we kind of joked, we've both been doing this long enough. We could probably just start our own business, right? And we paused and realized, okay, we actually could start our own business. Let's do this. Let's go for it. So that is where we started, and that is how we launched. And yeah, I cannot believe that it has been a year since I started this journey.
So probably I would say half the people that have been guests on this started when they were involuntarily made available to industry.
That's a great way to say that. And I have to say too, I am so lucky and blessed that I could not do this without support. And so shout out to my husband, Brant, who I could not do this without him. And
Right.
so I think that, yes, it's so important to have a stable of people who support you and your mission. And I am really lucky to have that. It makes it a lot easier at the end of the day.
So when you think about the things that you started the business and then all of a sudden you realized you had to learn, what are some of the things that you hadn't figured out right when you kicked off?
Oh, every day you're figuring out something new. I think the biggest thing I wasn't really ready for. I mean, I knew it would be a slog. I knew it would be a lot of work. I was not ready for it to be such an emotional roller coaster because, as you know, when you have a small business and you have a product or a service that you're offering, you put yourself out there a lot and you meet a lot of people. And there are, so many different phases of, oh my gosh, here's an idea. And we're so excited. And then crickets. And so it can just be such an up and down, no matter how much you love what you do. I wish I had had a little more inkling of, just that emotional investment. And that's really been kind of the biggest thing to deal with on a day to day. But then also, I was prepared to kind of jump in and do all of the non-creative things like bookkeeping and all of that stuff. And, I also find it very important to lean on other experts in their field and to not try and do everything myself.
Yeah, that's so probably the number one thing that people say they wish they knew more was understanding like business math. Because it's not like balancing your home checkbook.
No.
It's very different.
It is different.
Yeah. So you jump in, you come up with a name for the business. I'm assuming you hired an attorney to form the business, or you do legal Zoom, or just start going. At what point did you realize the business that you thought you were in was not really the business that you were in?
Expound upon that a little bit.
At what point did you realize that in order to stay in business, you had to be in sales?
Honestly, just kind of a few months ago. But what's funny is especially in my last position, that was when I really started getting into meeting with clients, really investing in their business. And I know how this sounds. I was always telling myself But it was also about selling a creative idea. And I love what I do so much that to pitch something I'm excited about, now it just comes so naturally that it makes it easier. But yes, 100% of it has been an interesting transition to I am in sales now. And yeah, it is. I'm in creative sales. That's cool. That works.
Well, and I've been in sales my entire life, but there's a stigma to being in sales. I mean, that's you know,
There is. Correct. And no, you know what? Nobody wants to be sold to.
correct.
Nobody wants to be advertised at.
Right.
But what I think is really cool with what I do, people love a good advertisement, though. You
Yes.
know, if that weren't true, Super Bowl commercials would not be a thing.
Correct.
So, yeah, as a salesperson, it's really, you have to remember how you approach people and you really need to be authentic. And I think you need to be passionate about whatever it is that you are selling.
Yeah. Yeah. It is it's a thing that you end up doing, and some people hate it, and some people like me are oddly overwhelmed and enjoy it. So it's just, yeah.
Well, if you've always been in sales, can I ask you kind of what has been the secret kind of to your success as a salesperson, just generally?
So I never ask for yes.
I love that.
So that's been, I sold vacuum cleaners door to door, and I won a scholarship as best salesperson in 3 states, and I never ever said to somebody, "Would you like to buy a vacuum?"
What did you say?
Uh,
What was your sales pitch if you didn't even talk about vacuums?
well, I would get the vacuum out of the box, and I would have an asthma attack, and then I would have to put the vacuum in the box and leave, but then people got upset because their house gave me asthma.
So then
And
you would come back and be like, "Boy, I can help you with that problem."
no, I was like, "Well, you don't want the vacuum cleaner, it's very expensive. You told me to leave, I'm gonna leave." And they would argue themselves into buying the vacuum. It was kind of, there's a whole, but yeah, it was a fun summer, which also ruined my academic career, because at that point I'm like, I'm never gonna do anything like that. So I'm just gonna sell.
We all gotta
So
start
yeah. So you have this passion, and it's funny because when I asked you to be on the podcast, the first thing you said was, "Well, I don't work with big companies. Are you sure you want to talk to me?"
Yeah. Well, it's not well, let me say this. It's not that I don't work with big companies. It is that my goal is not to be a big company. You
Right.
know, I feel we are out here not I mean, we approach our jobs, Nate and I, with an attitude of service. And so we are not out here to make a big paycheck. We're really hoping more to make a big difference.
So, we talked about you didn't really figure out that you were in sales until like 3 or 4 months ago, which creates its own issues. Um, but what are some things that you wish you knew, like, on day 1?
Okay, this is one of those pauses that your editor can take out because
Yeah.
I did like go through the questions that you sent and took some notes, but that's such a good one. I I wish I knew how patient and persistent I would need to be. It's one of those things that, sure, I knew it. I understood that this was going to be a process, but it was just the day to day is a lot more than I realized. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, and so, like, Stephanie Daly, who Send a Friend Lasagna, she was on early. Um, her quote was, "If you're not comfortable waking up at 3 AM to think about your business, you probably shouldn't start it." And it's not that you want to, it's just that you will.
Correct. Just one add it to the list of racing thoughts that keep me up at night.
Yeah, yeah. So, And now you've only been doing this for about a year, but I'm sure you've had conversations with other people who come to you and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting my own business. I'm thinking about leaving, my corporate overlord,
Mhm,
no longer being a cog in the machine. I'm going to go do my own thing."
mhm.
How do you what advice do you give them? How do you handle that conversation when people talk to you about that?
That is such a great question, and I don't think that there is a blanket answer to that because every situation is so completely different. And when I say started this because my hand was kind of forced, this is something that I have thought about over the course of my career many, many times. I don't regret at all not making the leap earlier because I wasn't in a position to. So I think every person who wants to start their own business should be just careful, patient, and measured with what they do. I'm not a huge fan of the spaghetti approach, which is throwing literally everything at the wall to see what sticks. And I think going back to what I said too about having support, someone should really weigh, how much support that they will have. So again, every situation is unique. And if someone is able to say, I'm done and jump ship from corporate America and just see where it goes, more power to them. And that was something that I was not able to do. And so, yeah, with every person who wants to start a business, talk to the people in your life, hatch a plan, and be ready to commit and be patient.
So there are 3 things that if you read a textbook, they say you need to have to start a business, right? You need to
Okay.
have a detailed strategic plan. You need to have 6 months of
Oh,
savings, and you need to have a clear understanding of what your clients are gonna buy. So when
great.
you look back 12 months ago, did you have those 3 things, or which of those 3 things did you have?
I did have all of those things actually.
You did.
And I didn't read the textbook. That's wonderful.
Excellent. How accurate was your plan?
Pretty close. I mean, pretty close. I think, excuse me. I mentioned, it was a year ago. It was actually in April, was my last day at my last corporate job, but we did not officially launch until July. And in that time, it was so important to Nate and myself to be measured in our approach. We didn't want to rush anything. We didn't want to just, put together a social media channel with nothing on it. We didn't want to not have an amazing website. And so over the course of several months, we just set up kind of step by step how we are going to do this. And we prepped for our official launch and really just hit the ground running at that point.
All right. So one last question. So if July or if, what are we in? May of 2026, Lindsay could go back and sit next to April 2025 Lindsay and say, "Hey, tomorrow you open the business. And by the way, everything turns out fine. You'll be okay. But when you start, here's the first thing you should do." What's the first thing day one business Lindsay should do?
Take a breath. And I know that just sounds kind of like a throwaway answer, but take a breath, know it will work out, and you got this.
That's
I don't know I can't really go deeper than that.
you don't have
I
to.
could. I could. I mean, there could be a whole list of things, but I think that's really a good place to
Yeah.
leave it.
Yeah. I mean, that's great advice. That, just
Thank you.
be comfortable that you've got it, and that's a great place to go. So,
Yeah. Well, and I will just add real quick, it is, um, difficult. It's hard. It's hard to venture out. It's hard to always put yourself out there no matter how gregarious or social you are. It is an effort every single time. I think you know what I'm talking about, right?
yep.
Yeah. And so, um, kind of knowing that it's gonna be a lot of work, but if you are working on your passion, it is not untrue when they say, "Do what you do and you don't work a day. Do what you love." I'm gonna
Yep.
start over. do what you love, and you won't work a day in your life.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So, all right. Well, that's a quick 20 minutes.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yep. So thanks for being a guest. And for
Yeah.
anybody that wants to learn more about you, there's going to be information in the show notes, links, connection information, ways to learn about your business. As somebody that's listening, if there's something you like or that you hear that you like, 3 ways you can help us: leave a review, hit subscribe, share an episode. And we'll be back next week. Until then, stay focused, keep working, stay profitable.